Hi there, my name is Shannon, and I'm Willamette Week's Music and Visual Arts Editor, here with another episode of Distant Voices. Today I am here with Larry O'Neill, who is an associate professor at Oregon State University, as well as a state climatologist for Oregon Climate Science. Larry is the co-author of a new study about the drought and weather conditions that led to last year's mega fires. Larry, how's it going today?
Very good.
So to start off, based on what you found in the study, was what happened last September, was that a freak thing, or how much of it was a freak thing and how much of it is kind of a new normal?
Yeah, so we took a look at the weather conditions that preceded obviously the Labor Day fires 2020, and many of us remember how hot and dry it was right beforehand, and then also the big windstorm that seemed to kick up in the days and hours beforehand. And so we were interested in looking back through the historical data record of our observations and seeing, if those conditions were unprecedented, or if, there was some precedent, and, and just try to get some details about that. And what we found was that, during August and September, so it's kind of our peak fire season, is that the conditions that led to the Labor Day fires weren't necessarily unprecedented in terms of either the easterly wind event that we got, so those really strong east winds that blew down the Cascades, or the dryness of the atmosphere, so the humidity that was in the atmosphere. So they were near record lows, but they weren't quite record lows. But what we found was that if you actually look at the combination of the two, so strong easterly winds and dry atmosphere, dry humidity, those combination of conditions were unprecedented. Another thing that we found was also that the conditions leading into the wildfires in a couple months prior to that, the drought conditions also seemed to play a role in a lot of the Western Oregon wildfires. So we found that most of the large wildfires that occurred in the historical data record were preceded by, a 60-day time period where we were in some sort of drought. So a lot less precipitation normal and much warmer than normal.
So can we talk about those east winds for a little bit? What
Yeah.
what causes those conditions, and are they sort of an unpreventable factor here?
Yeah, so the short answer is yeah, they are an unpreventable factor for the most part. So they basically form by undulations in the jet stream that happen, and there's a specific undulation that tends to occur with all these easterly wind events. And actually, we also get easterly wind events during other seasons as well. So during winter time, one example is we had a big easterly wind event that was associated with the ice storm that we had in February. And those are kind of caused by a similar, basically, condition of the jet stream where we have very strong high pressure off the coast and low pressure inland. And, that pressure gradient, essentially that distribution of high and low pressure systems basically forces the winds to have like an easterly wind component. And one of the big things about the easterly winds component is, so it's blowing air from the continent where it's drier. It kind of shuts off our supply of nice moist marine air, and that air kind of comes down the mountains, from the Cascades and from the eastern, high plateau in the eastern Oregon and Idaho and things like that. And as the air sinks down, blows down the mountainside, it also compresses and warms. So it actually, it kind of gives a boost to the warming potential and basically the ability of the atmosphere to dry out the fuels in those things in the forests. Um, and yeah, and so right now, I'll probably preempt probably one of your next questions is, if we see a climate change signal in the easterly wind events, and right now we do not see that, that the easterly wind event by itself was either caused by climate change or will occur more frequently or stronger in the future. What we did see was a clear signal of climate change in basically moisture in the atmosphere, how much the humidity was in the atmosphere. And what we've seen is that as the climate warms, the capacity for the atmosphere to hold water increases, and so it kind of sucks out water from the landscape. And so we end up with much drier soil and also fuels. So all the dead brush and things on the forest floor dries out quicker and gets much drier, so it ends up being more flammable.
How talking about how climate change does play a factor in this. So the east winds are going to happen. We can't really do anything to prevent them. But is climate change making it more likely that these drought conditions are going to line up with the east winds?
That's exactly right. So the east winds will kind of occur at the interval, as kind of part of the natural system. Maybe there's going to be some change due to climate change. We just don't know yet. But that's exactly right. Is that when they do occur, there'll be a larger wildfire risk because the landscape will be, potentially drier. The one thing about climate change is that the droughts will are projected to be more severe, and so and then we're going to have a longer fire season as well. So we'll just have more opportunity for these easterly wind events to contribute to explosive wildfire potential.
So speaking of drought conditions, here in Portland, we are most likely about to clock in our the driest April on record. We've already had fire conditions. The drought conditions from last year have not recovered. So from your perspective as a climatologist, how likely is it that we're going to see another big, scary wildfire season this year?
Yeah, the one of the things about last year was that that wildfire, the Labor Day fires, I mean, people have been warning that we've had this danger over the last few decades, and it finally kind of came true. And obviously, we've seen it in California over the last 20 years, that their fire, the explosive wildfires, that destructive and deadly wildfires are increasing, and it's burning over the same place several times, kind of thing. And for this year, the just based on the kind of the drought conditions and the weather conditions right now, it at this precise moment, we're actually drier than we were last year, and drought conditions obviously are increasing. And at this point, compared to last year, we're at probably a more severe stage of drought, and we're quickly going into even more severe stages of drought. So at least just looking at those metrics, it seems like the fire season, the fire season is going to start quite a bit earlier this year. And it's going to be difficult. I mean, if we do get like a nice rainstorm in May or something, that could potentially delay the start of fire season, or maybe lessen its the risk for a few weeks or something. But for the most part, we've kind of baked into our summer conditions what kind of drought we're going to see. And so at the precise time, there's large parts of Oregon that are going to be in more severe drought than last year, and so that will play into potentially higher fire risk. But that, like I said, also depends on other factors too. But at least just looking at just the weather conditions, just the hydrological conditions. Hydrological conditions, I mean things like stream flow, snow melt, and soil moisture, things like that.